Consulting Group. I am your organizational development psychologist as well as a licensed psychotherapist, and I serve as an executive wellness coach for high impact leaders, businesses, and celebrities. So check this out. We're going to be talking about stress management techniques for women in leadership because, I'm a woman in leadership. So we're going to talk about it. So usually when we're thinking about stress, we have this tendency to brush it under the rug as this is just life. This is just what we have to do. We don't have a choice, but we do. Although many working moms believe that they have no choice, and women without kids believing that you have no choice. So I'm doing a little crossover today. Women in leadership who are moms and those who are wanting to be moms or are finding alternative ways to be moms, or moms to your nieces, your nephew, your got kids, otherwise you choose not to be a mom, but you do need to choose to make a choice. Isn't that funny? You choose to make a choice. Make a decision. Make a decision. Let me get my words right. All right. Although many moms in leadership, women in leadership, they end up feeling like, and this is, let me just give my personal experience. I end up feeling like I have to always show up. We do so much. We work, we take care of the home, whether we have kids in it or not. If you have a partner, you are attending to that relationship, fostering that. In the boardroom, you are attending to and sometimes having to practice emotional labor. What is that? Emotional labor is putting on a facade, putting up a face that is not congruent with what you're really feeling. And sometimes what you feel is guilt. Sometimes you feel anger. Sometimes you feel resentment. Sometimes you're having all these things that make it very difficult for you. Shoot, mom guilt. Again, I'm doing a crossover, mixing it all in. But you get to this point where you have to realize that according to, there's this doctor, Boston psychologist, so based out of Boston, Deborah Bell, who really looked at the real key to happiness and how it impacts everybody else. And even when it comes down to the moms, what she said specifically about moms, because we do have moms in leadership, okay? Our morale and our emotional and mental health is required because then it strengthens the emotional bandwidth and blueprint for our kids, right? So think about it. If that's how it impacts, if what your mood is and how you manage stress impacts those around you, if you're a woman in leadership, then you want to pay attention to that, okay? You want to be in the space where you consider how you can choose the road of least resistance, which is to let go of that stress, right? So we have been talking about stress. We're doing this stress management series and really just focusing on how best we can manage stress regardless of the situation. So for my ladies, for my women in leadership, these are some techniques that you can consider, okay? And of course, it's not just what has been evidence-based. It's not just evidence-based. It is also about making sure that you are pulling in your personal experience. So everything that I say, I'm pulling in my personal experience, but also I am pulling in, just how the two intersect, my clients and what they're going through, So when it's all said and done, take this advice, take these steps, take these techniques, please apply it to you. Please apply it to your situation, okay? So, first things first, we already know that we got a choice, but this is what we need to do with that choice, okay? So, for my women in, let me just take these techniques and put them in my women in business, okay? And so when you're in these leadership positions, when you are running your own business, you want to be able to specifically look at what stories you're telling yourself, first of all, because that inner critic, that inner story on replay has in fact become and fueled and contributed to, and all the words to say that it has transformed into a belief. I really want to make sure to say that before I list these techniques. I want you to understand that this stress that you've been dealing with and how you have been dealing with it prior to maybe hearing this, or maybe getting help, linking up with a wellness coach, linking up with a therapist. You have to understand why it's so strong, why it is so tough to deal with, why it is such a cycle that you're finding yourself having trouble break. Okay. So I'm being clear with that, because I'm thinking through it to give you guys a baseline to understand why it has been difficult so far, and to have a framework that goes along with how you're going to apply these techniques. Because I don't want to just give these techniques and just say, oh, poof, gone, you're stressed, you're good. Like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to really come from this place of understanding. And psychoeducation is what we call it. Psychoeducation, where you understand why it is so difficult, and you understand why the cycles end up still coming back when you're stressed again, because you have built a baseline. It has contributed to and established your core beliefs in regards to how you lead, how you live, work, and home. Okay. So just so you know. All right. I'm going to give 6 tips. Okay. And it starts off with, okay, identifying and understand those early signs of stress. What is it that you do? Okay. What is it that you do that is a stress response? You have to come to a place of understanding that. You have to do a self check. You have to assess or get assessed to understand, how is stress showing up in my life? How is it affecting my memory? How is it affecting me being able to manage my emotions? Mind over matter, emotional intelligence, that sort of space. Okay. So the next one is adjust your mindset, adjust the way you think about those stressors. Just as we talked about in the first video, and if you didn't catch it, please go back and watch the replay. We talked about how when you are in a place of identifying and you're face to face with a stressor, you have to identify what it means to you. What is your mindset regarding those stressors? Is it just, well, I guess this is just my life. I guess this is what I have to deal with for now, and you keep setting mile markers for when the stress is going to all of a sudden dissipate. What is your mindset around it? Do you believe that you deserve a more harmonious living where stress doesn't have a visceral impact on your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and the sort of translation of that in the workplace, in your leadership style? Think about that. Adjust your mindset. And stressful lives are meaningful lives. So it's like, is that what you're thinking? Is that what you're thinking? That stressful life means I am doing more, that there is more to my life because I'm busy and I'm stressed, and ooh, girl, I'm stressed. Yeah, I'm stressed too. Like, is that what you're doing? We just talked about adjusting your mindset, but they're not one in the same. A stressful life doesn't mean that you have a meaningful life, and a meaningful life doesn't mean that it comes with this stress-filled living. The key to learning the difference between the two is this place of good stress versus chronic and acute stress. There's good stress when you've been awarded a contract and you got to get stuff together. You got to set up your individualized workbooks, and you got to set up, your client schedule. Who are you going to see individually? Who are you going to see in teams? When are you going to do your report outs? When are you going to do your PDSAs, your plan, do, study, act, that systems redesign tool of being in consistent process improvement and relating what you're doing to the ultimate outcome, right? That's just an example. But what's the difference? Your life can be even more meaningful without stress, right? And again, when I say without stress, it's without the stress response overtaking your life. So I want to clarify that anytime you hear me say something stress free, stress relief, it's really you understanding that stress doesn't have to be your baseline. Okay. It does not have to be your baseline. Okay. So create boundaries. It's time for you to start knowing the difference when it's time to say yes and when it's time to say no. If you have the bandwidth and it's of interest and it is in line with maybe your brand, it's in line with um, your leadership capabilities, your leadership model, then yeah, why not? But if you are already burned out and overloaded, you may want to start getting to this place of delegation. And that was actually going to be one of the things I offered in addition is the idea, the purpose, the goal that lies in delegation. It is not only just for you to have an offload and not to have this build up of stress, but also it's about building up others, helping them learn some of the leadership tools that you have to maybe support their goals of leadership. You may have emerging leaders that would love to take on a report, to do a data analysis and report out and presentation and a slide deck and what's the bluff and all of that. You may have someone wishing to learn how to do that. Create boundaries within yourself so that then you can let go of some of these things. To successfully manage our stress, we must let others know what our limits are. That's all within the conversation of boundaries. Okay. Be intentional about that. So the next one is make time to look after yourself. We talk about self-care all the time, maintaining a healthy balance. And it is key to staying sharp, to staying with it, to, keeping up with the keep up. That is a part of it. You can't just allow yourself to burn and fizzle out and expect that your leadership journey, your leadership impact on others aren't going to have that impact otherwise. Like impact, whether it's from a ripple effect of people then learning from your behaviors that, oh, I guess this is how we're supposed to do it, especially when as a leader, you're supposed to be modeling good behavior, model maintaining balance, model taking breaks, model saying no and setting up parameters around what you can or cannot do. Prioritize your wellness. Prioritizing your wellness, prioritizing your wellness. I can't say that enough. That is one of the best investments in your career success that you can make. Okay. And even if it's just a 5-minute break, say you are a leader, a woman in leadership that also have kids, when you go from that workspace, and again, this is for those working at home or out in the field, in a brick and mortar, in a business, in an office, outside of the home, either way, set your time up so that you can include mental breaks, moments of mindfulness, moments of prayer, moments of reflection. Okay. Practice mindfulness in your leadership. I have said that so many times and I'm going to say it again. A mindful leaders are aware of what they need. They are aware of where their sort of motivation bank and their emotional bandwidth, their emotional bank. They know when and how to lead. Leading can also be stepping back and when to allow others to help and support, allowing others to pick up some of the action, like I said, with delegation. But carry this with you, carry motivation on purpose without judgment, carrying wellness, carrying balance means so much more than carrying the load of stress and overwhelm and see, I'm busy. Like, no, enough of that. It's done. Ixnay right there, yay. Okay. So how are you serving others? How are you ensuring that you are meeting not only your own goals, but those of your team and your organization? When you are in this workspace, when you are in the home space, it's always about purpose. So be strategic, be planful, do some productivity planning so that you have those breaks and you use that tool of 40 minutes on and 10 minutes off to take a break. Whatever it is, take the time to take a break. So I hope that was helpful. We're going to keep talking about stress during this video series, and I hope that you are finding it helpful. Let me know if you are having any specific challenges that you know have some questions to ask, definitely put them in the comments and I will get to them within 24 to 48 hours. And again, this is Dr. Shané of SP Consulting Group, and your organizational development psychologist, as well as your licensed psychotherapist and executive wellness coach for top performing high impact leaders that either own a business, are in a business, high performing organization, but also for our celebrities and those in the arts. Just what we do. All those that are people leaders on every platform, okay? And in every way, in any industry, okay? You guys take care. I will see you next.